Call this meeting in the Cromwell Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. Laura, would you please take roll call?
Here. Here. Ms. Franklin. Here. Ms. Kaduti. Here. Mr. Heisman. Here. Mrs. Kelleher.
Here.
Mrs. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Schuman.
Here.
Mr. Zabrowski.
Here.
Mrs. Arnista. Here. Ms. Berry. Here. Mr. Mazzano.
Here.
Mrs. Biggington. Thank you. Mr. Butwell. Here. Mrs. Cochiolo. Here. Mrs. Demaro. Here. Mrs. DeChuno. Here. Mr. Kunkel.
Here.
Mr. LeMay. Dr. McLean. Here. Dr. Macri.
Here.
Ms. Maher. Mrs. Middlebrooks. Here. Mrs. O'Leary. Here. Ms. Shepherd. Here. Ms. Talbot. Here. Ms. Weiskel. Here. Summer Tatro. Here. Marcel Jusic.
Here.
Ania Raj. Ryan Pearson. I'm filling in for us. Okay, what's your name?
Loose.
Did I miss anyone from the town?
We do have Paula Luna. Are you filling in for town council? No. Okay, sorry. Okay.
She's just here because she loves us.
All right. Is it complete? No.
Yeah, the youth advisory
So-
board.
Youth Advisory Board?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have her down for Youth Advisory Board? Should she be here for that purpose? Yeah.
Paula down for that. Yeah. Mrs. Luna.
All right, we'll move on to approval of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, assuming there are no changes on your part, Dr. Macri?
Motion.
By Catherine, second by Alicia. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is approved as is. Correspondence, I do not have any. Dr. Macri, do you have anything to share for correspondence? Okay, public comments. Before I read the rules for public comments, is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to celebrating our faculty and staff. And we have Mr. Kuckel with Cromwell High School. Dr. Macri, would you like to introduce the topic?
I would love to introduce this topic. I'm going to call up Mr. Kuckel, our principal of Cromwell High School, and he has someone wonderful to honor tonight. So I guess I should let you do it before I talk about how awesome I think he is too, so I won't. Go ahead.
Go. Okay, so for our staff, I'm here. I didn't prepare any remarks for Mr. Tinkham because my relationship with him goes back some time. We first met probably in 2008, I want to say, John, right? Before that, we were actually in college together. It's not a joke; it's the truth. And I got to know this man over the last 12 plus years, more than that, 15 plus years. And his dedication to our students, his dedication to Cromwell High School is really second to none in terms of how he approaches every single day. He is here and he shows up for his students every single day, including on one occurrence with kidney stones. Not kidding, had to be sent home. Like that is the level of dedication this man has to our school and our students here at Cromwell High School. And for him, he doesn't like the spotlight like this, so this is very uncomfortable for him. But he does deserve the credit, and so much credit for everything that he's done for our NEASC process, not just this time, but way back when we first had our decennial visit, our first one together, going back 2012. John was tasked with the 2-year follow-up report, the 5-year follow-up report. He handled both of those with ease, but with great attention to detail. And when we had our next cycle come around now, I knew I had to go to John and essentially ask for him to help and assist and volunteer his time to help us with this most recent NEASC process. So it's really started way back in 2021, where we had to start designing and looking at the vision of the graduate, which John was all in on helping us and assisting us with that. But prior to our decennial visit, we had a collaborative conference visit in 2022. So John has been there all the way. He has been an excellent partner, and he is one that, at least with me and his relationship and myself, always provides excellent feedback, awesome feedback, and honest, and feedback that's needed to make our school better and in terms of NEASC to best prepare us for this NEASC visit. Without him, there is no doubt in my mind this would not have gone as smoothly as it did. And one of the great highlights that NEASC gave us was in the overall report and just how well it was done and how it made their lives easier when they were then writing up essentially the feedback to us. And all of that goes back to John and all the work that he has done with me. And I always joke with him that he can't really retire because, we're going to have a 3-year report. We're going to have a 6-year report. I kind of need him for those things when those come up. So I'm holding his retirement. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But again, he has just been a phenomenal asset to Cromwell schools outside of NEASC, going to games, being there for students. And he's just a tremendous person, tremendous human being. And I'm happy here to honor him for Cromwell High School tonight.
I just had to say a quick thing here to the board and everyone here. I work in the greatest place in the world. The teachers, administrators, and especially the students, greatest anywhere. I love my job. I love coming to work in the morning. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tinkham. On behalf of the board, we thank you for all of your history with the report and for everything you've done to walk us through this, and kudos to you. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Same, Mr. Tinkham, on behalf of me, and I know the curriculum department, Dr. McLean, and everyone, your commitment is unwavering. You make every kid feel so special, but you truly believe in the work, and you believe in what we're trying to do and changing kids' lives. And so, yeah, you have to stay out when you have kidney stones because we're a little worrisome. But thank you for coming to work and showing up every single day. It means everything to our kids. Good. Well, we like having you come too. And when I visit, I like seeing you. Thank you for everything.
coming tonight too.
Yeah.
And we'll hear more about the NEASC report later on the agenda, right?
Yes. So we do have a report for the NEAS report, and I did invite staff to attend, but I really would like to congratulate Cromwell High School and everyone who helped. This is a really huge responsibility, and it's really hard. Mr. Kuckel, Miss Maher, it's going to be really hard to stop calling Miss Maher. It's Miss Pretash right now. Prestash, I'm never going to say it right. Yes, we have to get used to this. We'll get there. And Mr. Tinkham and Dr. Spino is here, and we have Mrs. Obasi here as well, and I don't see any other teachers. Even Mrs. Binghamton, she was involved for such a long time, and Dr. McLean and Claudio, and every single person has had such a huge part in this task. So I can't be more proud of Cromwell High School, and sitting in that meeting with the people that we had to interview with, you really wanted to cry. And let me tell you, we have some pretty amazing kids because they could not speak highly enough about our student population and how well they're able to voice their opinions and give feedback on us, which is great, and how we could do better. So we got a phenomenal report. That doesn't mean we have to throw everything up in the air. That means we just work harder to achieve what we still need to work on. And they will definitely let you know in a little while on the things we have to work hard on, including the things they're really not happy with us about, fields and tracks and stuff like that. But a huge thank you to all of you who served on the NEAS team, to everyone, teachers, custodians, paras, nurses, everyone, support staff, parents, kids. This is huge, and you should be really proud of yourselves, and I'm incredibly proud of all of you. So thank you.
And we echo that. Thank you all. All right, so we'll move on to celebrating our students, and we are, again, standing with Cromwell High School. So go ahead, Mr. Kuckel.
Absolutely. So at this time, I want to call up our 3 students who are getting recognized this evening: Sharon Manick, Alexander Abdogani, and Colin Monahan. Come on up. So before I begin, funny story, I needed to touch base with them today. And based on what they're getting recognized for, when I looked up their schedule and I saw the first student I looked up was in AP Physics, I said, well, I'm all set. I don't have to look up any more. I know all 3 will be there. And sure enough, all 3 were there, right? AP Physics, good to go. So Tonight, these three are getting recognized as commended students based on their performance on the PSAT and MSQT in October of 2023. And this is extremely significant because there are 34,000 commended students nationwide, right? That's it. There are obviously a lot more students than that within our school systems across the country. And Cromwell High School in recent memory has never had three in the same year. To put it in perspective, you have to go way back to 2019, the last time we had more than one. And that year we had 2 students as commended students. 2020, 0. 2021, 1. 2022, 0. Last year, 1. So just because you exist as a public high school in Connecticut, in the country, does not mean that you automatically get commended students. You have to earn your way onto that honor. And these students here that are behind me, they are phenomenal students. They are committed to the educational process. They push each other. And when I thought about presenting this evening, I had all three come up because that is what I see from them on a day-to-day basis. They have a lot of classes together. They do push each other, and they excel all in their own right, inside the classroom and outside the classroom as well. You have from Alex with baseball, Sharon, a phenomenal tennis player, Colin, cross-country, track. These are highly decorated student athletes, and they show up every day, and they put forth the work and the effort that they need to succeed. By all accounts, they are model students, model citizens here at Cromwell High School, and we are thrilled to currently have them, and we will desperately miss them next year when they do graduate because they just carry themselves with such high standards in the building, and they are a good group to be around. And we are very excited and pleased to acknowledge and recognize them today as commended students for Cromwell High School. So congratulations.
Congratulations to all three of you. That's really impressive, and I hope you all stick together and continue studying wherever you end up. Any comments from the board? Dr. Macri, did you want to add anything?
Congratulations, you're unbelievable. Actually, I don't know how you do it, but Mr. Kuckel and everyone, we are all so proud of you. And you don't have to graduate; you can stay one more year. We need your scores. Just kidding. Thank you so much for being role models, and I always say it's awesome to be good at a lot of things and academics. You push yourself in sports, but you're really awesome people. You're really great young men. Mr. Kunkel talks about it all the time. And to me, that is the most important thing that you should be proud of and your parents should be proud of. Thank you for being that for yourselves and for all of us. You give us hope for this world.
Sure. Catherine would like to add a comment.
Yeah, just congratulations to the three of you. And then we're coming out of a time where students didn't care that much about SATs because they didn't mean anything, and schools stopped looking at them, but we're seeing the trend back to schools looking at them. So setting this example for the rest of Cromwell High School to show them that this can be done, it is achievable, and you need to work for it is super impressive, and that's what the three of you did, and I'm very proud of you. Congratulations.
All right, from here we'll move on to reports of liaisons from the Town Council, Board of Finance, Cromwell Middle School Building Committee. We have reference A in our packet for the Building Committee report. Is there anyone here from the boards I just mentioned? I don't believe so. Any questions on the reference in your packet? Sure, you can direct them to Rosanna Glynn if you did have any follow-up questions. Moving on to report of student representatives. We'll start with the high school. Summer and Marcel, would you like to take it away?
Participating seniors attended their senior trip October 15th to 18th, where they went to Washington,
I saw her
D.C.
put it on. Summer, is it on? It's just really quiet.
It has a button. It has a
It's
button.
red?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm afraid to touch it and make a noise. Sorry. All right.
Don't worry.
Is that better?
That mic is just not good.
No.
I'll
Okay,
talk
go ahead.
louder. Participating seniors attended their senior trip October 15th to 18th, where they went to Washington, D.C., then New York City. Everyone learned a lot and had a great time seeing so many amazing parts of these locations. The ECS WIS PTO hosted Trick or Trunk on October 19th, which CHS Student Council members attended to lend a helping hand. Cromwell High School hosted its annual Veterans Day breakfast yesterday in honor of the veterans, which members of National Honor Society were in charge of serving that breakfast. The CHS band and choir attended the Veterans Day ceremony at the town hall, while other CHS students took time out of their school day to watch the Veterans Day ceremony virtually in support of veterans and the CHS students who attended. Both Spanish and French Honor Society welcomed its new members in their induction ceremonies. Homecoming is coming up quickly, November 22nd, with the theme of disco, which we're selling tickets this week and next week. And Pep Rally is in its final planning phases, said to be the day of the Cromwell versus Rocky Hill Shumpeg Showdown football game on November 27th.
The Cromwell High School Athletic Leadership Council hosted the Shoreline Student Athlete Conference. During the event, sport captains and student leaders gathered together in order to learn how to grow as a student athlete. With that being said, the boys soccer team has concluded with their final record being 10-6. Congratulations to Nick Gorski, Julian Dominski, Logan Coy, and Paxton Edwards for achieving all conference. The girls soccer team has made it to semifinals. They play in Waterbury at Municipal Stadium against Cog and Chog today. Their record is 10-4 with 2 ties. Congratulations to April LeBlanc, Alyssa Bathrick, Hayden Vandersloot for making all-conference, and huge congratulations to Audrey Dana for making all-conference and Player of the Year. The Cromwell girls volleyball season has come to an end with the record of 6-14. Congratulations to Victoria Narwa and Anya Mocktails for making all-conference this year. Cromwell boys football team is carrying on their legacy with their record being 7-1. They have 2 more games, with their next one being in Rockville on the 15th. And last but not least, the Cromwell track team had their senior night the 19th of October. Congratulations to Colin Monahan, Dylan Bathrick, Taylor Mooney, Patrick Monahan, and Brianna Jones for getting all conference.
Thank you both. Any questions for the high school representatives? Go ahead, Catherine.
Did you say that girls soccer game was today? Do we know how they did?
It was a loss in the end. I believe it was 1-3. Yeah.
Oh, they played their hearts out. Good for the girls, though. That's really
They
impressive.
had a really good season, though.
Yeah,
which
that's
was
impressive to
sad.
make it that far.
Yeah,
Super
and
proud of
then
them.
with last year being
Yeah.
all the way, so they made it far.
They did very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on to Luz and Anaya, if you'd like to give us the middle school report. Ania, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Catherine.
Student Council participated in the Be Kind to Your Mind, Live Drug-Free Red Ribbon campaign, in which students pledged to be drug, alcohol, and tobacco-free and lead to a healthy and positive lifestyle. To symbolize the way in which people bloom when they choose to live drug-free, students planted bulbs that will bloom in the springtime. We look forward to enjoying the flowers near the school sign at the corner of Gear Street. Student Council also plans to host a holiday food drive the week of November 18th to support those in need. On Monday, November 11th, CMS Social Studies teacher honored veterans by teaching about the sacrifices, and students researched monuments dedicated to our veterans. Then the students researched and creating their own monuments to honor any veteran of the past or present. Student winners of the Tenacity Bucket List Challenge were rewarded with the opportunity to duct tape Mr. Sinaj and Mr. Chabowski to the gymnasium wall during a special assembly. Students were excited by the event and reminded to do their best to show tenacity in class and in their lives. Auditions for the production of Into the Woods have begun. Miss Sales and Miss West Herzog are excited to begin working towards the spring performances. The CMS Art Club, under the guidance of Mr. Glow, is back. Students are excited to paint murals this school year. Students took action photographs of the soccer and cross-country teams for the yearbook before the conclusion of their season. On Friday, October 25th, Cromwell Middle School students donated $1 and wore pink to support cancer victims.
Sports. Girls soccer, led by Coach Humphrey and Coach Willis, finished a successful season with only 2 losses and 1 tie, led by Izzy Dorak, Maya Lamberson, and Anna Krachowski. Boys soccer. Mr. Anina and Mr. Glowa led the boys to a 2-loss season behind Jordan Santangelo and Marcel Mazalek's offense. Cross country. The boys and girls cross country teams concluded their season with the Rich LaFave Invitational and the state championship meet at Wickham Park. Coach Murphy and Coach Bosworth would like to congratulate the entire team, especially top runners Landon Uma Newinger for the boys and Sophia Rodriguez for the girls. Basketball. Boys and girls basketball tryouts began the week of November 11th. Coach Bosworth and Coach Budzik are looking forward to the season.
Thank you both. Nice job. Are there any questions for our CMS reps? Catherine.
Thank you both, and for your first time, you did a great job.
Definitely.
Ania, do you know if there is going to be in the student news a video of the teachers being taped to the wall? Because that would be really awesome. We want to see it.
Oh, there was. They already posted it.
It was? Okay. Awesome. We'll have to look for that one. I'll have to look what week that was in. Thank you, Ania.
All right. Thank all of our student reps for being here tonight, and feel free to take your leave if you need to, or stay with us for the rest of the meeting. It's up to you. So thank you very much. We'll move on to town collaboration updates. The only item I would mention is we have another upcoming meeting on December 9th for our facilities joint committee. Continuing our work in that with our Gordian report and the recommendations made. There was a meeting recently. Matt, you attended that meeting. Do you remember when that, it was like last week, right? Okay, Matt attended for us. Did you have a question?
Yeah, just do we get updates on those meetings or?
There are some minutes that I could forward to the board. It's not an official committee, but there are minutes. So if you're interested, I could forward them along.
Okay. That would be
Okay.
awesome. Thank you.
Sure, I'll do that.
Honestly, it's a lot of. It all kind of started with the Gordian report, and now it's kind of fine tuning and saying what and honestly, Claudio has been awesome with kind of reevaluating all the stuff. I can't imagine how hard he's working on dealing with all that, but kind of tearing down some of the numbers and saying, like, Gordian report says that this item has outlived its lifespan. However, it's been really well maintained, and the maintenance crews that look at it say it's got at least another 6 years left, but the Gordian report says you should replace it now, and it's $100,000. So it's a lot of kind of playing with that of, does it really need to be replaced now? Does it really need to be at that cost? So it's a lot of, at times, minutia. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a really deep dive into all the expenses facing our facilities.
So this might be a slow-moving process for us then.
Yeah, there's deadlines coming up
Okay.
with budgeting and so forth. So I think it's moved faster the last two meetings than it has previously. Steve Waganowski has been huge with putting things into a spreadsheet that's easy to navigate and understand, which has led to a lot of discussions. But it really, what it comes down to is everyone on the committee is really dedicated to making sure that we're able to deal with some of the financial impacts that the town is facing on, quite honestly, some of the things that have been kind of pushed forward over the years that now really can't be pushed forward anymore. So it's been a lot of work by a lot of people on that committee, but I think it's going well now. I think it was tough in the beginning because it was overwhelming. Some of the numbers you were just looking at and going, what are we going to do? But I think the team has worked well together to kind of hash out, and everyone's kind of shared their own level of expertise on different things. So, and especially, Claudio really looking at things, getting ideas from contractors that we work with and so forth. So I think it's moving forward, but the reality is budget season's coming up soon for the town as well, so they're going to need some numbers soon, and I think we'll be in a better place after the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll move on to superintendent's updates and responses to Board of Ed comments and action items.
I'm so happy Matt did that because I don't have to talk about it or have Claudio come up. That was great. So we'll talk about NEASC in a little while. That's our huge topic. Safety and security updates. We have a subcommittee that is meeting and going through every single solitary thing we do with a fine-tooth comb, which we always do, but even more of a laser-like focus. Spending 2 to 3 hours with our SROs and in discussion with the chief on things that we can always do better to ensure safety and security of our students and our staff. So I'm really very proud of that work that we've been doing. We are looking at different platforms, as I had said to you, to communicate with parents because we use PowerSchool, and that is included in our package. We will be spending some money on using a better platform. It's time for us to do so. New reading program is going wonderfully at K through 3. Mrs. Arnista, Dr. McLean, and all the teachers, and Sarah Galati, they are just doing an incredible job. I've talked to so many superintendents and people who are doing the work, and it is hard work, but our teachers are eating it up and doing everything they possibly can. They can't wait to put in place the PD that they get. So I thank those people, and a huge thank you to our teachers because they know what's good for kids, and that's awesome. The next thing I want to talk about is our budget. We are working on our budget. Mr. Butwell, myself, the administration, we will begin meeting with all of our administrators as soon as we get back from the holiday, from Thanksgiving Day break. And we are going to be crunching a lot of numbers, and we look forward to having those discussions. And it's really nice to have someone who's been in a building, and the administrators as central office are amazing, but to have Mr. Butwell there to bounce some things off of to make sure I'm not out of whack because I haven't been a principal in a long time. So it's been great to have someone doing that transportation piece and someone to bounce ideas off, and having Mr. Butwell and Dr. McLean to really just, and Miss O'Leary and Michelle and Claudio. The team is so cohesive, and I think in your I did put it in your updates. We implemented a cabinet meeting where we meet once a month to talk about how we can just continue to find, because we all, right, are working together for one thing, our kids. So we're making a lot of changes and modifications so that we do that well for our kids. And lastly, I know one wants to talk about the election, but I have to say that I am so incredibly proud. Again, colleagues of mine that I met with today would not let their staff, teachers, or anything touch it with a 10-foot pole. We did. We had a mock election. Our teachers taught physics like they should, and the maturity of our students and our staff, and knowing that there could be civics. What did I say? Physics. Oh, I don't even know. Remember, I got to a car accident today. I'm tired. Yes, civics. Oh, yeah. I'm just tired. The amount of respect for each other's difference of opinions, and being able to have wonderful, fruitful conversations. I am just so proud of this school community and of our students and of our staff. And I thank everybody for, I was nervous. I was like, oh God, can we just skip it for this year? Which would be a terrible thing to do as educators. And we didn't. And it went beautifully. And it was well planned. And I'm very proud of us continuing to do the work when it could be so contentious. So congratulations to all of you for maybe some of the adults, some of us can learn from you guys. You did a great job. So thank you. And that's all I have until we talk about NEASC.
All right, any questions from the board? None. Okay, you're off the hook. We'll move on to our budget update, presentations, and reports of administration. Reference B in your packet. And for that, we'll have Mr. Butwell. If you'd like to give us an update.
Hi, everyone. Hello. So in your packet, you saw the budget update document. I mean, at this point, things are going very smoothly. We're getting over the hurdle of all the ordering that happens at the beginning of the school year and getting those purchase orders paid. And so at this point, no big surprises. You can see that we're looking to be in very good shape at this point.
Sounds good to me. Any questions? All right, you want to stay up there for the next item then? We have an action item, which is setting the 2024-2025 tuition rate, reference C in your packets, which we know from past meetings is basically the budget divided by the number of students. Am I correct in saying
That's
that?
correct. Yep, the number of students that were in district on October 1st is the official, dipstick date that we figure out our number, and so it's a simple formula, budget divided by number of students.
Okay, any questions on that? Is there a motion to approve the tuition rate? By Kelly, is there a second? Second. Catherine, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Tuition rate is approved. And next we'll move, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Butwell. Next we'll move on to an action item for Youth Voices Counts Survey, reference D in your packets. And for that, who do we have presenting?
Dr. McLean, and we have our team from Youth Services Bureau as well, who are fabulous partners, and Dr. Spino as well.
Is your mic on?
Now it is. Can you hear me? Youth Services got in touch with me a couple weeks ago, and we talked about a survey that we do fairly regularly every few years give to our students just to gather some information about trends and programming that we may need and can anticipate in our schools. So I will let I put in your packet some samples and some pamphlets about the information, but they are here today and they can answer your questions about the survey and what it contains and how the information is disseminated and who it's disseminated to and what we use it for and what the benefits of gathering the information are.
Hi, my name's Sarah This is on. My name's Sarah Kalos. I'm the Youth Services Administrator for the town of Cromwell, and I'm also the co-chair of the Local Prevention Council, which is the Cromwell Prevention and Awareness. I co-chair that with Dr. Spino, a high school teacher here. Tonight I'm here to present an opportunity to the district to participate in the Youth Voices Count survey. The survey tool gathers data about youth behaviors, perspectives, and experiences related to substance use, mental health, school and community connection, gambling, gaming, and social media. The target audience is grades 7 through 12. This needs assessment is a foundation for identifying and prioritizing needs for future action. Accurate and timely information about the extent of substance use, mental health, and other risky behaviors will help all of us better serve, educate, and advocate for our young people. Town and school leaders can use this data to inform prevention initiatives, effectively use our limited resources, and aid in applying for competitive grants to address our needs. B. Wayland Smith Consulting is an experienced and talented team that can tailor the survey to meet our needs. They provide support from start to finish. This survey also includes add-ons with topics such as bullying, toxic stress, sexual behaviors, and extracurricular activities. They've administered this survey to over 50,000 youth in Connecticut in 29 districts. Middletown and Wethersfield are two surrounding districts that give positive reviews about the survey and the consultant. Cromwell Youth Services can provide this consulting team at no cost to the district. It's provided under a grant from the Alliance of Prevention and Wellness. The town of Cromwell has recently invested in a part-time prevention specialist using the opioid settlement dollars, and Matt Kowalski's here to say a few words.
Good evening. My name is Matt Kowalski. I am the newly hired prevention specialist for the town of Cromwell. I'm also the family school liaison for the district, as well as a parent of 3. I have a daughter who just graduated from the high school last year. I have a son who's still at the high school, and I have a son who is at the middle school. I'm here tonight to support the district's plan to partner with the Cromwell Youth Services to administer the Youth Voices Count survey. That's a mouthful, let me tell you. The survey's really for the community as a whole, more than it's about the schools. Being able to have the teenagers of Cromwell participate in the survey will serve us well as a community. This survey will show us what we are doing well as what we need to work on a little harder. It gives us the information we need to make a plan to best support the Cromwell's youth. I just want to let you know no child would be mandated to take the survey or to answer any questions that they didn't feel they were comfortable with. It's an anonymous survey, so no child can be singled out for their answers. The Board of Education is going to have the opportunity to work with the consultants to customize the survey, adding and subtracting questions. I hope you've had a chance to review the packet we submitted. It includes the overview of the survey implementation and the sample survey. Bonnie Smith from B. Wayland's here tonight to answer any of your questions. I'm just hopeful that the board will see this survey as a way to really help the kids of Cromwell so that we can support them the best that we know how. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you for letting me work with your children.
Thank you for being here. So with that, do we want to hear from Bonnie Smith first, or do we want to ask questions to Mr. Kowalski and Sarah? Sorry, I'm blanking on your last name. Sarah Kalos, is that how you say it? Any questions for them before we bring up Bonnie? Catherine.
So, Matt, you had mentioned that this is for the town of Cromwell. Are we administering this only through the public school system, or is there a way to capture kids that go to other schools like that live in Cromwell, or?
I wish that we could, but it's best that we do it here because that's where most of the kids,
Okay.
preside.
Okay, so they all take it within the school, like on their Chromebooks?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And this is different than any other survey we've done in the past? Okay. Because I know we've approved something similar every year, pretty much. It's kind of standard what we've been doing. This one seems a little bit longer, maybe. Is that correct?
In 2021, there was a Search Institute survey that was very, very lengthy. This is actually about 58 questions versus I think the other one was like 150 plus. And I'm sorry.
Students, I think.
Talking to your mic, Catherine.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I believe students stopped taking the survey partway through. They didn't complete the whole thing. Is that correct with that one?
I don't have all the details about the history of that particular administration. I got hired a year later.
Okay.
I have that with me today, and I can send that out from 2021. But this.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
It was the middle school where we didn't get the greatest data because I think there wasn't enough information to really get accurate results. I think we did get some data from the high school, but the middle school was a little bit more nebulous data.
So on that note, do we think it's still worth it to survey the middle school or just? Right. But still, in general, it sounds like they're not as responsive.
This is half the size, so we're hoping.
So we'll try it?
Yeah.
And the results go to youth services as well as the school district, and where else do they go?
A presentation at Board of Education, summarizing some of the information, and that can be posted online. It can be shared electronically. We'll
And
use
then-
that to guide some of our efforts in the LPC and Youth Advisory Board and things like that, discussions.
And then in the past, can you give an example of what kind of programming was able to be had afterwards from the results of the survey?
One of the students, actually the middle school students, one of the campaigns that we do every year is the Red Ribbon Week. It's a drug prevention week, and depending on some of the information that we receive will help guide those efforts. So if we see that there's a lot of drinking, underage drinking in the area, where are the students getting their alcohol from? Is it from parents? Is it from liquor stores? Is it vaping? We just need to know where to, shoot the arrow at the target.
Thank you. Any other questions? Catherine, then Matt. You did? Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't see you.
Thanks.
Can I make
Just
a
to-
comment on, this is Henry Spino. About 10 years ago, we did a Search Institute survey. It was in 2014. And as a result of that survey, we saw that the youth thought that the adults did not value them in the community. That was a very low score. And as a result of that, we implemented a mentoring program, and that was at WIS. But since the pandemic, a lot of things have changed. And the last survey was kind of done during the pandemic, which the results were pretty difficult to interpret. So that's just another example of what we did with that result.
Good example. Thank you for sharing. Matt, go ahead with your question.
I have two questions. The first one is: would the administration of this survey take place during what would normally be instructional time, or would it be at another time?
It would be during the school day. I think the recommendation is that we do a stop and survey, like at a certain time for a certain amount of time. We could also kind of filter it through so that everybody takes it on the same day. I think preferably we would just have all students take it at the same time, just so that, I think you get cleaner data that way.
So they might, for example, a student may not have a math class that day because instead they're doing.
I mean, we haven't put a schedule together, but there are times that we could use advisory,
Okay.
things. So, I mean, we would try very hard not to use instructional time.
Okay.
But if anything, it'd be a portion of that math class.
Right. So I mean, it's not going to take necessarily a full class period to administer.
I don't think. Do you know how long does it take the kids about? Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Bonnie Smith, CEO of B. Wayland Smith Consulting. I'm here with Luke Smith. He is our lead analyst. CHS, class of '98, myself. So we are here to answer questions, and certainly the survey is designed so that it should take most students 20 minutes. So we advise 25 minutes just to make sure everyone has time to settle, get their instruction, and then participate. And that post-pandemic year of surveying, in our business, we will always have an asterisk next to the year that we surveyed those students because everything was different. Not that the data that we collected are invaluable, but sounds like even here for Search Institute, there were some challenges and it was a difficult time. I'm happy to take other questions, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
Alicia,
you.
did you have a question?
Well, just a comment first. Thank you for raising this because I think some of these issues are so important, and for us to get our hands around what are the most prevalent issues plaguing our students is really valuable information. Just a suggestion for the end of it, I was glad to see a reference to, if this triggered any kind of past trauma or concerns, to go to your school counselor. I would just recommend we put the contact information right into the survey so that students know, because if they don't know who their counselor is, they could be lost. So just a recommendation about giving them some really explicit contact information besides 211.
Thank you. Alan, you had a question.
Thanks. The other question was, so our role right now is to approve the allowance of it to be given, and then we're going to review the questions
We don't
beforehand?
normally
someone
review
said?
it as a board, no.
No,
School
our
district.
I thought they said we would.
Yeah, but
The results.
We can resume, yeah, we'll review.
No,
the
they did say
results.
we could pick and choose, but I think they meant
Yeah.
the school district, not
Yeah,
us.
we-
on the
Gotcha.
board.
Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for.
The policy is, our policy is that the board votes on anything like this as far as giving a survey. As far as picking the questions and making decisions, we would do that with, obviously, the Services Bureau, and then they would come back and share the results with us.
Thanks.
Sure.
Alan.
So what grade levels take this, and is it the same survey for all, or is it modified for middle school to high school?
We are targeting grades 7 through 12, and I don't know the answer to that other question.
Typically, most communities have all the students, grades 7 through 12, take the same survey, unless they choose to include questions on sexual behaviors. And then typically, when that is the case, it's grades 9 through 12 only who receive those questions. And when those add-on sections were mentioned, I believe it was Sarah that mentioned them tonight, those are optional. So we have what we call like the core survey, and then the additional optional sections that we can decide to include or not are around bullying, sexual behaviors for grades 9 through 12, extracurricular activities, and a new section called Connected and Thriving Youth, which is sort of a takeoff of the Dalio Foundation's efforts around disconnected youth.
So the 20 minutes would be as is without the add-ons.
Interestingly enough, the 20 minutes includes add-ons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments from our students? Anything you want to share? Go ahead, Alicia.
How many other districts are using this survey or have used it recently?
So right now, to date, we have 30 districts that have used the survey with 50,000 youth represented in our data set, which does allow us to provide you comparison groups by district reference group and the 5 Connecticut model that's used by Data Haven.
That is exactly what I was asking for.
Is each district's results confidential, though, district to district?
Yeah, what happens is when new data comes in, and I also like to highlight this to groups, our own children do take the survey, and we can't tell you what our own children say. So it is 100% anonymous. So when the data comes in, it's aggregated into the data set, but de-identified. So we label it by district reference group and by the 5 Connecticut's model, and then our analysts can do different types of analysis as needed. So Sarah can come to us and say, the standard survey report didn't get at this. Can you look and see this against this DRG, for example? So we'll do some after the fact work. We provide up to 4 hours of work after the report comes out if you have additional questions of the data. And we do have this nice opportunity with Cromwell Youth Services that we've recognized as a company, not every district has a lot of grant dollars in place to provide a survey, which is essential to get grant dollars. So Cromwell Youth Services has been awarded by our company a reduced price survey for this process because they don't have certain grants for prevention that many folks do. And these data should allow them, should they choose, to apply for a lot of different state and federal grants. And possibly, as a district, you can go after State Department of Ed grants. I know Wethersfield was quite successful in using these same data for SDE dollars.
And I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, but how long before you get results? If they were to take them, say, next month, would we get them next year or in a few months?
No, maximum 8 weeks. We quote 6 to 8 weeks typically, but it's most often closer to 4.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Catherine, were you going to ask a question?
I was just saying that every time we hear that we've been denied a grant because we aren't considered in need, maybe this would be extremely helpful for us to be in need, because we'll have actual data to support our grant requests.
Good point.
Not necessarily financial data. It's data of what our students need in this town. Yeah, it'll be very helpful for us, and we work very collaboratively with Youth Services Bureau for us to be able to apply for grants so that we can actually help our kids.
Any other questions, or is someone willing to make a motion to approve the survey? Kelly, is there a second? Matt, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. The survey is approved for use. Thank you all for being here and for all of your explanations. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to a review of Veterans Day.
Start with Mr. Oh, we'll work our way up. We'll start with Mr. Tuno. It was a great day. I did start off at the high school, and we had the breakfast in here. I don't want to blow Andrew's thing, but it was really nice to hang out with our kids and our veterans. And then I went to the town hall, and I'll let Andrew talk to you a little bit about that so I don't ruin it. I feel like I'm telling all your stuff because I came with the high school this year. But it was really nice to just be at that event and see all the veterans get recognized.
Hi, everyone. So at ECS, Veterans Day is always a special day. It's just great to be in school with kids and learn about it. Several veterans came to visit, 19 in total. They went and visited the classrooms this year versus having everyone in the auditorium. And it was more personal, and our veterans could tell stories. They brought uniforms, medals, maps, all kinds of stuff to share with our students. In addition to that, Mrs. Chapman, our music teacher, created the presentation that she does every year where students sing patriotic songs, recite poems, and we videotaped that, which is going to go home on Friday for the families to see, as well as all the pictures of the veterans that were sent in, and they line the hallways at ECS, and so those are all part of the presentation as well. So it was a great day.
Thank you so much. I'm sure the veterans enjoyed being there. Thank you for sharing. And we'll go on to Woodside. So, Mrs. Bennington.
Hi, everyone. So for me, it's always really exciting that we actually celebrate Veterans Day in Cromwell. My students have attended, or my own children have attended a district that they do not have school on Veterans Day and currently attend schools that do not have schools on Veterans Day. So every year I feel like we start that conversation in the morning of like, what do you mean you have school today? Like, what does that look like? And so I'm always really proud to tell my kids about all the amazing things that we do in Cromwell to celebrate our veterans. So first of all, at Woodside, we were incredibly fortunate to have a veteran visit every single classroom individually. And I really have to thank Sam Gassman because she was on the phone as late as Wednesday and Thursday of last week, just calling our veterans who have come in the past and welcoming them and letting them know how important it is for them to be in the classrooms and for the students to be learning about their service and their commitment to their community. When the veterans come in, they talk about their service, they talk about their experiences. Because they're in the classroom with students, they're able to answer questions and really have it be that personal touch that makes Cromwell the community that it is. So that's something that we're super, super proud of. After the veterans leave, the students all write thank you cards and draw pictures for the veterans, and then we deliver those later this week. Our classroom teachers also, it's based on different grade levels, so we have books for all of our students. So our third graders read Veterans, Heroes in Our Neighborhood, and this one is written as a prose. In fourth grade, they read H is for Honor, a military family alphabet. And then in fifth grade, The Wall, and this one brings me to tears every time I read it. It's such a special message. So those are some things that are happening in the classroom. This year we were particularly thankful to Mrs. Horrigan, who's our library media specialist, because she set the white table. And if you haven't heard of the white table before, this was my first time seeing this as well. So I'd like to just take a minute to tell you what it looks like. So the white table honors the men and women who serve in America's armed forces, especially those missing in action, our MIAs, and those held prisoner as prisoners of war. So in our lobby on Monday, we set a small table to show one soldier's lonely battle. We cover it with a white cloth to honor a soldier's pure heart when he answers his country's call to duty. We place a lemon slice and grains of salt on the plate to show a captive soldier's bitter fate and the tears of families waiting for loved ones. We push an empty chair to the table for the missing soldiers who are not here. We lay a black napkin for the sorrow of captivity and turn over a glass for the meal that won't be eaten. It's a little emotional, right? We place a white candle for peace, and finally a red rose and a vase tied with a red ribbon for the hope that all of our missing will return someday. And so that was something that we had waiting in our lobby when our veterans came in, and I know it was impactful. Several of them shared with us how just seeing that table and knowing the symbolism behind them let them know that Woodside is a community that definitely honors and welcomes our veterans. Also want to shout out to Silvana Pandolf, our other secretary in the office, who keeps track of all of our books, keeps track of all of our activities, baked delicious goods for all of our veterans coming in, and really sets that warm environment when our veterans come in. So thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. That was hard to listen to without tearing up.
Yes.
So I'm sure when the kids walked in and saw that, it was very meaningful to them. Thank you for sharing. And Mrs. Cochiola.
Good evening, everyone. So in spirit of our building our STEAM school and our project-based units, this year our social studies teachers as a whole team got together and they built, along with Graham Jerry, who's our coach, they built a unit around all about our veterans, honoring them. It built in multiple media, some videos, and then the history of it. And then they built in what are the monuments? They had the kids focus on what are the different monuments and how were they created and why were they created that way. So the students had to first get their background of, you know, who are veterans? What do they do? What's the history behind celebrating Veterans Day? And then they had to do some research behind a couple of the war memorials. And then they went through the, you know, as we keep using the terms of our rigor and relevance of discovering, you know, the why, the who, and what were some of the discussions around those memorials and how did they get there, and so giving the kids the background. And then they had to create a memorial for a veteran of today. It could be someone who was within for Iraq or Afghanistan vets, but then they created their own their own memorials based upon the organizer of getting all their background information together and building those. So the kids spent all of Monday doing that. We had a special schedule, so every student was able to go to their, because we have a drop schedule, so every student was able to go to their social studies class day to be able to create those memorials. And we wanted to, you know, change it up. Last year we did the memorial, the veteran wall in the cafeteria, along with the table that Ms. Binnington had talked about. So we're trying to get kids to see all the different angles of our veterans and, you know, the different components to it. So that was our project this year.
Thank you very much. Sounds like a lot packed into one day. We could do a whole month-long lesson plan on it probably, so thank you. And the high school, Mr. Kuckel.
And actually, I wasn't planning on this part, but we did, just to add on to the monuments piece. So our senior trip was to Washington, D.C., and I wasn't able to share this because we just don't really do a debrief on it. But part of that trip every year is visiting all the memorials that are at in Washington, D.C., one of which is the Vietnam Memorial, where 2 Cromwell residents are forever etched in name, and we do a little ceremony there with the seniors when we stop by, for Mann and for Fritsch, both who are at that memorial. So that was a beautiful moment. That summer you were on that trip, and we had other seniors as well. And that's part of that trip every single year, which is wonderful, leading into Veterans Day. And at Cromwell High School, we had our Veterans Day breakfast, our annual Veterans Day breakfast, which is one of our favorite events that we have here. We had it here in the Library Media Center, a very intimate setting. And it was just a great opportunity to talk with Cromwell veterans and veterans of our families as well, who joined us. Some great conversations and always a good time. And then we are very pleased and always excited that we are able to join and collaborate with Rich Anderson and the American Legion with the Town Hall ceremony. That's something that's relatively newer for us. We did that first in 2021. And this is the third year now that we have this ceremony that we participate in. And not only do we participate, is we have Doug McGuff and our news broadcasting crew actually video it as well. We had live streaming issues this year, but we're able to still have it. We'll be sending that out to the community. But again, it's great because it's a video snapshot of that event every year, a historical landmark for us. Our band, our select choir performed at that. Ellie Sabriglio for National Honor Society gave a speech at that ceremony. And our kids, like they always do, did a phenomenal job participating there. And we had so many great compliments about that. It was great to see them in action at that event, honoring our veterans. And we were able to then broadcast that later in the day with our students, thanks to Mr. McGuff's very quick response time and being able to figure out how to upload that so we can stream that into students at the end of the day. And that was Veterans Day for Cromwell High.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all the principals and everyone involved for making it a special day and memorable day for our students. And also thanks to all the veterans who are not here to hear it, but very thankful for them willing to give up some time and come in and speak with our students, because that, I think, means the most to our kids, is being able to actually meet and talk to a vet and ask some questions. Anything you want to add, Dr. Macri?
I agree. And the breakfast was hilarious. And a couple times I'm like, remember you're in school and there's students here. And they were laughing. It was, a few of the veterans were hysterical. One is about to prepare to jump out of a plane again. He's 80-something years old. I'm like, oh my God, haven't you had enough? But it was just awesome to be able to speak to them, and then to have our vets who have students in here. And so the kids got to have breakfast with their parent or their uncle or their grandparent. It was really nice. And the kids who served them, one of our students, he went around and cleaned the tables, and he just addressed them as he was just unbelievable. And he told everyone that his father's in the service and he's stationed in South Carolina. And it was just a really nice morning. And I'm just always so proud of how the kids perform. They just keep getting better and better. Our students, choir, band, and Paula Luna, who was here earlier, sent an email because she couldn't believe how awesome they have become and how much they are growing. And thanked Carly Nelson and Michael Schmidt, who are our teachers. They're doing an excellent job, and we just continue to grow fine arts. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that, about the other part of fine arts soon. But thank you to everyone, and happy Veterans Day to all our veterans. And I do actually love that we celebrate it, although I wasn't that popular when I went into schools yesterday with some kids asked me why they didn't have the day off. It was funny, but you know, I did laugh. I said it wasn't my fault. It happened before I got here, but it's a great day.
All right, from here we'll move on to a review of our NEASC report, reference E in your packet. And Mr. Kuckel, are you starting that off?
I mean, why not?
Okay.
Why not? Okay, so as I praised earlier, Mr. Tinkham here is to make sure that I am focused and do not miss anything from our NEASC decennial report here. So everyone, and I believe you all have access to this PowerPoint, and I believe it was shared as well. The actual report, which is 47 pages, but it is a quick read, believe it or not. It really is. I read it back on the bus from the DC trip, actually.
That is a 6-hour ride.
Yeah, plenty of time. Plenty of time. So we wanted to start just by reminding folks how long this process was, the NEASC accreditation process. So this all began, again, really in the midst of the pandemic for us, where we actually extended and we asked for a little leniency, which is what NEASC was giving folks. They were giving a grace period of a year to better prepare for NEASC given the pandemic. So we have to go all the way back to 2021, where we had our self-reflection, survey, gathered a lot of information, a lot of data from our students at the time, and that was all just to simply prepare for our collaborative conference visit. That was in the fall of 2022. For that visit, we had to identify, based on our self-reflection that the entire staff did. So our whole staff was a participant in the self-reflection survey, and we had to identify priority areas for our school. Once we established those, we were ready to go. That collaborative conference was short, 2 days, and a smaller crew that came in. Then from that, we had the collaborative conference report with recommendations and commendations that came from that. So they gave us feedback based on that collaborative and said, hey, we're going to come back in 2 years, and these are the things that we think you're doing really well, and these are the things that we think you need to work on. That's how this process works now. So they come back in 2 years for what is officially the decennial visit. In between that time, we develop a plan for how we want to approach the recommendations that they gave us and how we'd like to proceed. But again, it is a different model, and it's all focused really on continuous growth. The NEASC process is an excellent process. It's one where they partner with you, and it is a very reflective process. And for us, we were very fortunate that for 2024, we had most of the NEASC members who came in 2022 were also a part of that committee, including our chair, Penny Breisgill, principal of Ram High School. That is extremely important because they could then see the growth, and they had that perspective that other members did not have. So the final report that we have, those 47 brief pages, they're an honest assessment of where we're at, and they essentially give us feedback for where we should go next in quick summary. And we do have to pause for a minute, and we really do need to thank everybody for this. By no means was this a one-person show, two-person show. This was the entire district. This was the entire town. As the Board of Education, you're going to see in here, there are many points where we're going to be recognizing all of the effort and the work that you've done, because obviously without your support, financial, obviously on that end, but just in general, your overall support with this process for our school over the years was instrumental, right? We don't land where we land without that support. Dr. Macri, as superintendent, same thing, right? This process was easy because of the relationship that we have with the Board of Education, with the superintendent, with our town council, with our Board of Finance, Mayor Demetriadis. We have so many folks that worked so well behind the scenes for us, and obviously, at these meetings, to make sure that we had everything we needed. Our staff, our students, our families. So this truly was a collaborative effort, and the results are a byproduct of all of that support and everyone working on the same page. And throughout this, you're going to hear me constantly reference different folks, different stakeholders who were just so instrumental in this process. So we really could not thank everyone enough. District administration, everybody. Without all of you, the report that you're about to see would not have happened. It's just that simple. So, I'm going to give you a NEASC in a nutshell here. One of the biggest parts of this report in the visit is the 4 C's, as they call it. So, this lovely visual that you have here. It starts with our conceptual understanding. And ultimately, when NEASC visited, they came away saying, you clearly understand what quality instruction looks like. You understand the importance of curriculum being connected to standards. We understand that relevance and making subjects and work relevant to students increases engagement and student performance. And we have provided teachers with explicit training that they need in order to fulfill the initiatives that we have. So we have a conceptual understanding, and that came through, and that was a highlight from the NEASC committee. Commitment. Essentially, we're committed to the work, right? And this is top-down. Superintendent, Board of Education, town, Board of Finance. We preach a growth mindset. We preach a lot of different things, but we practice what we preach here. And we're constantly adapting. And again, one little thing that you're going to hear about later in terms of commitment. Every year you have to approve a district calendar. We know that's not an easy decision for you, but the reality is you provide us half days. And those half days provide us significant professional development time. And with everything that we had to do in preparation for this visit, but just in preparation for what is good instruction and how to run a building effectively, if you did not give us that time, we would not be where we are today. And our report would have had a lot more recommendations if it wasn't for that time. We know that's not an easy decision, but again, we feel like it is important to stress that the commitment part is not just with our staff, it's from everyone who's involved with the process. In terms of our competency, we are learners. We're lifelong learners. Our teachers are constantly learning, constantly adapting. They had to do that in the pandemic, and they've had to do that more recently as we've pushed initiatives such as targeted small group instruction and some other different techniques to meet the needs of all learners. And essentially we have, and this is per NEASC, per the report, we have a robust amount of PD offerings, and we have a lot of supports in place. We have a strong curriculum department. We have our supervisors, our coaches, all helping and pushing us in the right direction. So our competency, we're learning, we're understanding, but we're understanding because we're being taught, right? I'll be the first one to tell you, as principal of the building, curriculum was not my strong suit, but it's because of the people that we have in place. I've been able to learn a lot, and they've been able to push me, and I've been able to grow as well as a building leader. And in terms of capacity, essentially we have the systems and structures in place to continue growing and to continue moving forward. This again, PD calendar, I cannot stress that enough in terms of how valuable that has been for our staff. As well as we've built in PLC time twice per week at our school level, which allows teachers to dive into data and have those day-to-day conversations they need to have that they didn't always have, prior to our accreditation process. So that's the 4 C's. Now, what you're looking at here, this is a list of our recommendations from the collaborative conference visit. All right, 7. So I put the big number there for a point of emphasis. That is a lot of recommendations. It was from our collaborative conference, and per NEASC, based on the plan that we submitted for them to come back and view, they flat out told us we had an ambitious plan. And during this visit, the folks that had come in 2022 and were now here again in 2024 were honest and genuine, and they said they were genuinely concerned as to our ability to fulfill these initiatives and what we were doing. We left here in 2022 really not sure when we came back to Cromwell High School what it was going to look like because of the recommendations that they had for us, but then at the same time, all of the things we were trying to do. All right. And we feel like it's important to emphasize this point because what I'm going to show next, and we're going to fast forward 2 years, because what you're going to see is all of these recommendations are gone, right, in a 2-year span. And not only that, we received 10 commendations. So essentially, in 2024, they come back, they dive into the school, and they say, you know what? Not only have you fulfilled those recommendations, but you're actually doing a phenomenal job in all of these areas. So I'm not going to necessarily go piece by piece here in the interest of time, but the first one, a significant amount of curriculum writing and alignment with standards. For that one, there was a lot of work there, and this was not a process that we just started overnight. This, again, a lot of this goes back to post-pandemic when we were in the hybrid, if you guys remember that term, and we had no students in the buildings on Wednesdays, and we decided to really start pushing and looking at our curriculum then. That was a team effort and a Herculean effort. We have our curriculum leaders. We had Dr. McLean, our coaches, our facilitators, the teachers. They were able to, in 2 short years, produce 100+ new curriculum, full curriculum documents aligned with standards. That in itself is a phenomenal accomplishment, but it's hard work. But it's work that we were able to do, again, due to the time that we had, the vision that we had at the top, and the leadership, that we had with everything. The focus on creating common assessments to better assess student learning and inform instruction. Again, that's connected. That's all the work that we were doing during that curriculum time that you've provided us, and that was allocated in our PD calendar, from the curriculum department. Then as you move down, the use of targeted small group instruction to inform teacher practice and improve student learning. This was a new teaching method for secondary teachers. This was a huge risk for secondary teachers. You walk into an elementary classroom, you see this all the time. At the secondary level, there was a lot of learning. But again, we had the systems in place. We had the experts in place. They were able to train our teachers. Our teachers were able to take risks and eventually get to a point now where this is a consistent strategy that we see in the classroom. And we had educators from across the state, one of which was from Danbury. He said, we've been trying to do targeted small group instruction for years, and we have had no movement on it. So I'm proud that that's where we're at. And, a little anecdotal evidence, today I was in that AP physics class. I took a visit there, and they were doing targeted small groups. And the best part about it is I walked up to a group, they were seniors, and, I'm chit-chatting with them as I normally do, and one of the boys looks up at me, he says, Mr. Kucko, are you here just to, see our small groups? I was like, no, buddy, I'm not, but almost brought a tear to my eye. That's the culture we have now. That's the language students are using. And it's the truth, though. It's the truth. A month back, I'm in a math lab class, same thing. The student said, Ms. Randazzo, can I work with you in a targeted small group? That was what a student in 10th grade said. So that was not the case 2 years ago. It just wasn't when we were
Mr.
trying to
Kucko,
do this.
Can I interrupt you for just
Yes,
a moment?
sure.
For those of us that aren't in education, can you just give an example of what that looks like? I mean, obviously, that's the teacher sitting with a small group of students,
Correct.
and the others are doing what? Can
Different
you just,
things. So in the physics class, they all had their own problem they were working on that they had to figure out how to present to the class. And the teacher had students at the board with her as she's going through the concerns, the problems they have. Our students on the AP level all the way down to no matter what level you have, they love that smaller setting. They feel more comfortable talking to teachers, asking those questions. I'm making a judgment here, but I'm sure we all had a similar high school experience where your algebra teacher asked you a question and you were not going to raise your hand in front of 25 kids and ask the question. In a small group, they're comfortable doing that, and the teacher knows what they need. In math, a popular way we see it is, 3 or 4 students maybe missed the class before, and they're able to pull them when they come in, work with them about explicitly what they missed as opposed to saying, hey, here's what you missed, figure it out. So it's happening more and more in our building. And again, it's part of a cultural shift that we have at the high school. And it's part of the shift that the NEAS committee, part of the visit is they visit classrooms and they talk to kids. And so they're able to see it with their own eyes as well. And then another huge highlight, because I would love to highlight this for the staff that we have at Cromwell High School, you'll see the culture of collegial collaboration across and within departments. This has been a strength that I've been fully aware of at Cromwell High School. It was just happy for me to have another outside source come in and verify this. Our teachers are constantly working with each other. They work with each other in PLCs. They are not afraid to approach fellow teachers, administration, offer their thoughts, offer their insights, talk about how we can do things better. We're always looking at constant improvement, and we're always looking to change and adapt. And again, the fact that we had that was a phenomenal recommendation. And the next one, another huge one. And again, I'm doing my best to place as much emphasis on this. So the implementation of a multi-tiered system of support with the committee regularly reviewing data to identify and respond to individual student needs. So MTSS essentially replaced SRBI. And for those that don't know, MTSS at the secondary level is non-existent in most school districts. Just does not exist. Just the nature of the beast. We had a group of very dedicated teachers, administrators, district administrators who sat down and planned this for years. At the high school, when I was here as principal, Ramsey Binnington, she was a huge head of our MTSS committee, and a big reason why that committee was able to get off the ground with teacher help, with Julie, Amy as well on that committee. We had Ashley Talmont joined it more recently. Ashley, how you doing? But it was, again, you had a lot of people, and it was a very collaborative process, and we have this true MTSS process where students are referred, teachers look at data, they determine next steps, how can we better support these students, and that was something that we had them sit in on a meeting. We had them observe an MTSS meeting because we were so proud of the work that we had done with that committee. So we are very pleased with that. And then the implementation of twice weekly PLC time within departments and including a special education teacher. Again, these are things that not every school district has. We are fortunate that we were able to build a schedule that allowed our teachers to have as much time so they could do what we're paying them to do, which is use their expertise to improve student learning and improve student outcomes. And we've been able to do that, and we've been able to do that successfully, and that was another commendation. Other ones, the Culinary Center, as you know, we got that together right before they came here. And then the last one, And this, again, is a huge shout out to everyone here in this room. Dr. Macri, Claudio, Bazzano, instrumental in this, and that is the 5-year capital improvement plan that I'm not going to lie, 4 months ago I was very nervous about. But everyone got it done, right? And I know, Claudio, you were huge in that. Dr. Macri as well, working with the town to really identify what we needed. And this is going to come up later. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But overall, just a phenomenal list of commendations. And really, the highlight here is that we have a lot of systems and structures in place that allow us to give students what they need to be successful. And that is what came about in this report. Mr. Tink, am I missing anything? I'm good? All right. Now, also proud of this because at the end of the day, we had one recommendation, and the one recommendation was in an area that we knew was an area of focus for us. When NEASC visited, we said, hey, we're going to need a little, guidance on this issue, what to do with our library media center space overall. You have your meetings in here all the time. It's a beautiful space, but we really don't utilize it to its fullest potential. So we were looking for feedback on this. And when I was sharing some of our information with a mentor of mine who's very high up in the NEASC process, he said, how many, what's your first recommendation? And I gave him the recommendation that we had about the library media specialist in the library itself. I said, yeah, that's one. He said, well, what's your other recommendation? I'm like, I don't, what do you mean, what's my other recommendation? He said, well, you have to have others. No one has just one. I said, no, we only have one. And he was floored, absolutely floored at the fact that NEASC came here, visited, and when they left, they didn't have 3, 4, 5 recommendations for us. They had one. And the one recommendation, this is something that we have to do. We have to change. We have to improve on. But we do have a plan for this. And we've already been in the works of that. And ultimately to align everything with the middle school. So you are building a beautiful brand new STEAM middle school. Students will be coming up here at the high school. We need a STEAM space at the high school. So our plan is to take our library media center, keep still the library media center piece, but we do want to transform this space. And we want to make this a STEAM space, one that is full of everything students need to create, be creative, under the guidance of our library media specialist as well. So we're talking about making this a versatile space. We have a lot of ideas for that. I've already visited area high schools to see what they have. We have plans to go visit Ram High School, actually, which Penny Breisgel was our chair for this visit, and she gave us the idea to go visit her place because they have a very forward-thinking approach. So for this budget year, I will be allocating funds to slowly start to address this need here at the high school. But essentially, we have time. We have a few years by the time everything is all said and done to come up with a plan to address this space and how we can make this space more transformative and more useful to students in a creative way. All right, now, when you go through the report, you'll notice two things that I do have to highlight. So you have official recommendations, which, again, there was only one. But you also have recommended next steps. And those recommended next steps, if you have the actual document, are on pages 21, 23, 25, 27, and 28. And they are all tied to your priority areas of growth. So those are self-identified next steps with feedback. Those are not necessarily things that we have to do. Those are what they're recommending we do based on where we are, based on what they saw, and things like that. So the graphic on the right, we have our vision of the graduate because that's the best example I can give you of this. We are just at the beginning stages of pushing out our vision of the graduate and what that is and providing assessments in that nature. But ultimately, we have a lot to do there, right? There's no one recommendation that says, hey, if you don't do this by the next time you come back, it's going to impact your accreditation. It's more, there's a lot of work you still have to do with this. These are what we recommend that you do. You see the tennis ball and racket. I couldn't help myself on that end because, one of the recommended next steps absolutely is the facility itself, not the building. The building is a phenomenal building. It's in great shape, but it's the extras, the athletics, the tennis courts, the parking, all of that stuff, the auditorium lighting, things like that that we're going to discuss. The track, running out of time there. So again, there is a difference between recommendation versus recommended next steps. We have a lot of recommended next steps, which is normal. The recommendation, abnormal to only have one. So part of our NEASC visit involved a student tour. And one of the lovely students that gave that tour was Summer Tatro, who is your senior Board of Ed rep. She did a great job. I had to actually radio Summer's group because they were getting so carried away outside. I'm like, they need to actually go visit classrooms. I need you to get them back here. So this is an excerpt from the report, page 28. You all can read, but again, their emphasis for us, this was not a recommendation. I have to caution you here. It was not a recommendation in the NEASC report at the moment, and that's a big part of the 5-year report. The fact that we had a 5-year capital improvement plan that addresses the track, that addresses the auditorium lighting, the tennis courts, the turf fields, all of those wishes that we have a 5-year plan for, which is a big reason why they did not put it as an explicit recommendation, which would be more of like, no, we have to get it done. Okay, so they are trusting us that we know what we're doing. But Summer and I talked today, and Summer, could you share with the group that tour in terms of the vibe of the NEASC committee when they saw our state-of-the-art athletic facilities? I am a person of sarcasm, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Throughout the whole tour, we kind of ended more with the fields in my group, and it was like a lot of, wow, this is great, and then we get to the fields, and it's that tennis area is a graveyard for goals, and there's no bathrooms, and it was definitely a lot more silence compared to the rest of the school. And a lot of it was like, where does the other team go? And like the bathrooms was a heavy one because it's porta potties, and just like the way that tennis doesn't have an area here, and just how it's just not much to look at compared to the rest of the school.
Yeah. And I believe one of the talking points too was, you know, the outside looks the same as it did when Kelly Maher, Mrs. Maher, was a student here in the early 90s. Right? I mean, but that is the reality, and NEASC was aware of that. And they are concerned at that because it does directly impact instruction. So just so we understand, they gave us a recommended next step of placing emphasis on projects that directly impact teaching and learning, and utilizing the 5-year plan to identify and prioritize projects that ensure student health and safety. So obviously from their perspective, the tennis courts, that impacts student and learning. The track and being near the end of its useful life impacts student, learning as well. So that is how we connect those as things that need to get done. But again, they're in our 5-year plan, which is excellent. But that was a good part of the tour that Summer was able to give.
I just have a question from Lori, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, I just want to clarify on this page. So are you saying the part about making the outdoor spaces ADA compliant, is that not a recommendation? Is that, am I understanding that? What you're
It's
saying?
recommended next steps.
Recommended next
Yep.
steps, not a recommendation.
The recommendation, we have to provide an actual plan for, a plan for improvement, how we're going to address each specific recommendation. In this case, we had one. So
Yep,
we're confident we have a really good plan for that one recommendation. Lori, to answer your question, these are the recommended next steps in terms of when we do our 3-year report. So in 2027, we have a 3-year report to submit. We're going to report out on where our progress is with our priority areas and our recommended next steps as well.
So in your next 3-year report, you would need to specify how you're going to make these areas ADA compliant within the next 3 years. Is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or how we're going to address it.
So it gives the difference between, I know you're thinking, because I had asked Andrew the same thing.
I don't understand how that's not a recommendation.
So because we have a 5-year plan and we have been working so closely with the town, with our whatever we call that committee, everyone calls it something different. And since Claudio has come on board, and we changed the way we are budgeting for it, and we actually have a plan of how this is going to be addressed, they let us off the hook reluctantly because they believe that this committee, because we've done everything else that we said we were going to do when they came in 2022, that this committee is going to make sure that that 5-year plan gets implemented. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So it wasn't a focused recommended recommendation. It was a recommended next step. But I do believe that Mr. Cockle and the team spent a lot of time in conversation, and I did as well. I really thought this would be a recommendation, but because we have done, it's a world of difference from where we were a couple of years ago. They believe that we're actually going to do what we said we were going to do, and that Claudio is going to hold everyone accountable for making sure it gets done. So that's why.
In our debrief, the person in charge of Priority Area 5, which was the capital improvement plan, which was connected to the fields, he was adamant that he wanted it in as a recommendation. But the committee and their deciding was like, that's a big thing for them to decide, right? That's where you see some of the schools in the area that have had new buildings as a result of their NEASC visits. That's where it has been a recommendation. They had to address it. And in this situation, like Dr. Macri said, because we have these other parts, because it was really clear that, hey, here's 26 fiscal year, we got this, and then 26, 27, and we understand that we're not going to get it all at once, but there was a pretty clear plan, assuming that we get the funding, obviously at the Board of Ed level, but then at the Town of Finance level as well.
Does that answer your question, Lori?
Yes, I understand your answer. It bothers me that it's not a recommendation. I would think that it would be required that it would have to be.
Yeah.
That's my point.
If they didn't think, I feel badly because I want to make sure. So they make recommendations. They're reluctant to make certain recommendations. I don't want to say reluctant. That this has to happen by the town. This is a huge expense by the town, and the town has to help us do this. Yeah. They believe that because we can't do it without them, without the money. They believe that because of the 5-year plan and with Claudio coming on and the relationship that we have and the tri-board meeting that Matt and Steve sit on, they truly believe that this is where we're heading because we've already done so much that they didn't feel, he did, the person who was actually in charge of this felt that he wanted to, but it's a whole team of people and they have to be in unison. The others felt they have made so much movement in this in 2 years, and there's a plan in moving forward that we could just leave it here. Now, let's say in 3 years, we've done nothing. That isn't going to change. Like, they're not going to go for that. It'll completely change. They believe we're going to do what we say we're going to do. And Claudio's shaking his head, yes, and we believe, and I believe that we are going to do.
And the ADA reference to explicitly really is about the bathrooms, right? I mean, we have porta potties, but we get around that with you can use the building, right, which is ADA compliant.
So a person in a wheelchair can't get into a porta potty.
Correct.
Don't they make? I've seen handicap.
They do. We
porta
can get the
potties.
large ones. Yeah.
But do we have those? No. Do we have those?
Yeah, there's
Alright.
one at the track.
We're supposed to get bathrooms. Yeah.
Right now, we have I'm not sure if we actually got it yet. Christy Carpino was working with the State Department of Education. We were awarded the whole.
Whether or not the money is here yet.
And when it's going to start, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I thought a plan was supposed to be in by the end of the calendar year, but don't quote me on that. But we were
I'm not
awarded a
sure.
grant, and the town is in charge of it.
Yeah.
To put actual bathrooms.
I can follow up on that and get back to you guys at the next meeting if you want.
Perfect.
That'd be great.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to make sure that doesn't get lost. And
Absolutely not. It's terrible if we have grandparents, anyone who has a disability, but when we have grandparents who want to come see their grandchildren and they're in a wheelchair and then they can't use even the porta potty, and we will make sure, let's double check to make sure it's handicap accessible, but then the school is still far away. You miss half the game.
Not just grandparents, students.
Everybody.
You could have a
'cause,
student
yeah.
in a wheelchair.
Right,
Everything should be accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. And we will. We know that. And that was this has been the kind of scream that I've been saying since I got here about everything regarding fields and compliancy, and you get grandfathered in because the building was built how many years ago. They would never allow this with the middle school,
Right.
Yeah.
So with new construction, it's totally
It has
different story,
to be.
but
This is
already
different,
existing.
right?
Catherine.
So I have a question, because we have the track, and the access to get into the track area, which people go into to watch soccer games and lacrosse games, not necessarily when there are track meets. However, how do we let anyone with a wheelchair in to that track? Because the little narrow cut-in area is
Side gate. So right next to it is that side gate that can take you.
Gate that's
Yep.
there? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll let everyone know where we are with that at the next meeting. If you want to continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
So then one more just recommended next step so you can see it, just to better understand it. We identified a need for a career counselor as we push our career pathways and wanting to get students into internships and things like that. So they have a recommended next step, and part of what was cited in the report is, the need for it. But again, this is not a have to, right? This doesn't have to happen, but this is what as a recommended next step, something that we would explore and look into adding a career counselor position to help expand our career and college readiness and our career pathways and getting students out into the workforce and into real-world internships that can obviously improve their education. Again, just another way to highlight the difference between recommendations versus recommended next steps. Recommended next steps are still absolute needs, but we don't have to do anything on them.
Was that specific to hiring staff or just, showing
Staff.
students their
Staff.
options?
Oh, no, that's
hiring
a
staff?
career counselor position is an added position.
We used to have one.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
So we are in discussion of what do we have, what are we doing, how many students do we have, taking what courses. Can we figure out a way to utilize staff that we have, or are you going to see that in your, when I come back with your budget?
To be determined.
Alicia, you have a question?
Is that part of the responsibility of the guidance counselors in helping students identify what courses they're taking, where that might lead them professionally? That's always been part of the conversations my children have
Yep.
had with their guidance counselors.
Correct. They do that, but they don't do the other piece of, in other districts, what we're looking at, we're researching it, is that component of getting students actually into internships, building partnerships with businesses to expand those offerings, those opportunities.
So you mean school directly to career?
Yeah, and
those
it would
that are
be
not
like-
going to
correct.
college.
Yeah, and well, not only that, and that would down the road, the vision would be to change our graduation requirements too, to make an internship mandatory, something that they actually participate in to graduate. So if you say you're interested in this field, that's great. We want you to actually go out and get experience in it, especially your senior year when you have a ton of time in your schedule to do so. Right? And that's what we want them to do. We want them to go to college with a good understanding of careers that they're actually interested in and whether or not they want to still pursue those.
And that might spark some motivation for those last 6 months.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That would be the hope. That'd be the hope. But that's just a little, snippet of the big vision. So now, last part here I'll leave you with, which might confuse you a little more. In terms of our next steps, so we are not officially accredited again or renewed until the larger NEAS committee meets in March of 2025. They will review our report. They may add another recommendation based on what they're reading. So the things that you're referencing right now, maybe they will add the facilities on there as what they feel like should be a recommendation, something that needs to happen. We will not know that definitely until probably April 2025. Once we get that, we then plan to address the recommendations, and we submit that to NEASC. NEASC then provides more feedback on that, whether they agree. So we're looking at March 2026 when we really have a solid idea of what our next steps will be. In the meantime, we are still going to move forward with our priority areas and the recommended next steps, as those will not change. It's just whether or not they add something else on, which they can do. So we could get another recommendation from that visit after I just boasted about only having one recommendation. I'll send them this video. Maybe they'll add another that we would like. But, we will hopefully end that report with just that one recommendation, and we'll be able to move forward. And in the meantime, we're able to budget and mindfully plan for what we want that to look like.
Is that the last slide?
And that is it. That is NEASC in as condensed as I can get it for you. And again, just thank you to everyone. Thank you to our staff, the board, and everyone here who has done so much for us to make this happen.
Thank you so much
It was
for
a
your
great report.
presentation and for everyone involved and for everyone that continued to push on with the things that they might have known was needed in our district. Some maybe were resistant to, but to our curriculum team, congratulations, and everyone else that was involved. So thank you very much. Any comments from the board? You're dying to say something. Go ahead.
So I'd like to thank you, the Board of Education, particularly those of you that hired me and have been on the committee for a long time, for trusting me when I kept saying that this really needed to be done. I could cry. You allowed me and you listened to what I knew needed to happen, and you allowed me to do the work and great hire with Dr. McLean and our curriculum supervisors, Julie and Amy, and the entire team. We would not be here if you didn't trust me, even when there were a lot of questions. We would not have had these commendations, and we wouldn't have done it this quickly. It's an impossible task, but we did it. Herculean task. Our teachers quickly realized how important it was. Our students took to it, because who doesn't want to be recognized for the help that they need in class? It works beautifully here in Cromwell at the lower level. It's hard to convince the higher level that this is what is needed. The teachers, the work that they've put in with the supervisors for MTSS is remarkable and astounding. So for me, thanks for taking a risk with me and letting me do what I needed to do to make it best for our kids and for NEASC. And I appreciate Mr. Kuckel, who was skeptical in the beginning too. He realized that this is what we needed to do and came right on board very quickly. And we have a vision. We have accountability in place. We have coaching. We have professional development. We have smart people. We have wonderful teachers. We have amazing staff. And we have kids who deserve everything. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity and trusting me to do that through this process. And thank you to everyone at Cromwell High School and to everyone I mentioned. It's just been, seeing this report was just so rewarding and fulfilling. And I thank everybody for believing in us.
Let's give them a round of applause. Well deserved. Any other comments or questions from the board or our student reps? Anyone? No? Okay. Move on to action item E, approval of our out-of-state Six Flags field trip. Reference F in your packets. This trip is just specific to Six Flags. It's for band. Any questions? Go ahead, Kelly.
Am I on? Okay. So I noticed that the estimated trip is, where's he? Where's Mr. Cuckle?
Are you looking for Mr. Cuckle?
Yes. Do you know Mr. Cuckle? Hello.
No.
For the Six Flags field trip, it says approximately $130 per student.
Mm-hmm.
What is that entail the admission and all that?
Yeah, so it's called what is it called? Music in the Parks is what it's called. It's a very popular thing in all over, but explicitly in New England, where they go and perform at regional or area high schools up in Massachusetts, and then there's a ceremony at Six Flags itself where they announce the winners of the competition. So yes, it covers the cost to get into Six Flags, and it covers the entry fees and buses and everything they would need for that day.
What if students already have a Six Flag season pass? Does that
That's
make
a good question.
difference?
I don't have an answer for you on that front. That's a good question.
I was just wondering because
Yeah.
I know a bunch of, at least my student already has
I wouldn't
one,
think
so
they
I was
would need
wondering-
it, to be honest, unless the park was randomly closed for that. But I've gone to a Music in the Parks at a previous district, and I believe
Yeah.
the park is still open.
So it'd
I don't
still
think
be
it's
the
closed.
Is it
130
an
no matter
entry
what.
fee to participate? So it might not.
So
Yeah.
either way,
If you
it's
have a
130.
pass.
if
We'll
they
look
have
into
a
that,
season
though.
pass
Yeah.
or not.
It's a good
I
thought.
wouldn't. That might have been the case years ago. It's been a while, I think, since we've gone to that. So we can still double check that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good question.
And if so, that might be a good gift for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. Pays for itself.
For next year.
2 trips.
All right, so any other questions on that? Would anyone like to approve that out-of-state field trip? Motion. Catherine, second by Kelly. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The field trip is approved. Action item F, approval of new activity club, reference G in your packets.
I'm all for this one.
Yeah.
I'll happily make the motion. Oh, all right. I'll second it. I thought this was absolutely fantastic that we are promoting writing for our students.
All right, is there a motion? Is that a motion, Catherine?
That's from Alicia.
From
All
Alicia?
right, I'll make the motion, and just a thank you to Mr. Bozeman for initiating this.
Agree. Second by Lori. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. That is also approved. Item G, approval of a new Cromwell High School art course, AP Drawing, AP 2D, AP 3D Drawing Ceramics. That's all one course? Okay. Any questions on that one? Who is here? Oh, please come on up. Do you want to come and introduce the course? Give an overview?
I was wondering who that was. Promoting 2 more avenues to AP. Currently, we have AP 2D Design. I'm proposing that we combine all of the APs just for numbers' sake and accessibility. But having these different avenues to AP Art allows students to really capitalize on their strengths, build portfolios according to what they love in art and their college programs if they're pursuing art or design. Also ceramics, proposing a ceramics class. That's a big ticket item. Our wheels are from what I can find on Reddit, because you can't even find them on the internet, are from the 1950s, so they're quite outdated. There's a lot that are broken, so we're looking to replace some or all of those. But I have to say, as a teacher who's taught K through 12, every single question from almost every kid in every art class is, when do we get to do clay? Right? So it's
true.
like, that's the passion, fan favorite, shall we say, right? I mean, they all say it. When do we get to do clay? Can we do clay again? So I'd love to offer a whole semester of clay for those students who love clay. Colin's little sister, his family was here. She's one of them. Her mom just came up to me and said, oh, she told me all about her vase that's in the kiln. She cannot wait to see it in the morning, you know? So I have kids coming to me before school starts. Can I see that? Can I see my vase out of the kiln? So that's a fan favorite. That can also be a career pathway. You know, I know quite a few ceramicists that make a decent living. I mean, I've bought a couple really expensive mugs in my day, I have to admit. You know, and ceramics is a course that can really develop patience, perseverance, and respect for the art process. Perseverance is obviously one of our visions of the graduate elements there. And lastly, I'm proposing a drawing course, which will be digital and analog taught in tandem. We're really lucky to have quite a few iPads. Thank you, Steve, for putting on Procreate and IBIS Paint for us there. And, you know, the landscape's changing. There's a lot of digital artists in Cromwell High School. There's a lot of digital art careers out there. I want to give the opportunity to develop that here at CHS. When I got here, I have to say I feel so grateful because I feel very valued. And when I got hired, Mr. Kuckel said, what do you think's missing? You know, he immediately asked me, what would you want to do? You know, so thank you so much for that sort of trust and positivity. So yeah, it's adding 2 more AP pathways, adding drawing, which will be digital and analog by hand, and a ceramics course for CHS.
Thank you so much, first of all, for being here and waiting this whole time to come on up and present
Yeah.
your courses. We appreciate it. And for recognizing and for recognizing the need, and for also just having the ambition to create these new courses and want to teach them. So any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the courses? Alan, second. Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The courses are approved. Congratulations.
I'm so excited.
And thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say.
You know, they just approved your budget too.
You signed that. We need a kiln.
It wasn't that much, was it? Yeah. All right, information, approval of our Board of Education meeting schedule, reference I. Just a quick second. All right, so my only comments, I had talked to Dr. Macri about it previously, that it's like one meeting a month except for, January, February, March. So we decided we'll see how it goes with the budget. And of course, we can always cancel, but we could put them on for now. So any other questions, conflicts, concerns? Catherine?
Graduation is June 11th, correct? We did just approve it, and I believe.
Was it 11th or the 10th this year, Andrew?
Well,
I
we
can't
have
remember.
our
either.
meeting date listed as the 10th.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Chris, you did. No, I'm kidding. That's good.
I feel like it's an annual
you know what?
issue
It
that we
is.
forget
We
about.
end up having it the week before.
Yeah.
So we could do the week
June
before?
3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine.
And that would be also facilities and technology.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud.
And I have one other question.
Shoot.
You have 7 facilities and technology meetings, and you have 9 policy meetings.
Hold on, we're not doing that many.
Well, to be fair, the tri-committee has taken over the facilities for now, so that's,
The what?
The tri-committee is basically what we're doing
We're
in
doing
facilities
this
right
thing.
now.
I think there should be at least 6 or 7 more.
I think we should turn the facilities meetings into policy meetings so we can actually get more done.
What? No! Get a new committee.
No way. You guys are too valuable.
Just wanted to point out there's a lot more.
You guys are the best.
So you'll
You've
move the
done
facilities
so
one
much
too?
work. Yeah, I'll move that too. You've done so much work. This district is so much better off with this policy committee.
Okay,
so
so I
so
guess we're not
with-
changing that.
no, you can't. You gotta stay. Once in a while we can if we don't have
You
anything.
might not have quorum.
Well, except for that August one when I wasn't there and it was like 2 minutes long. Remember that?
So I'm efficient, Lori. I'm efficient.
So with those 2 changes to the June 10th regular meeting and then also the facilities meeting, is there a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting schedules? Thank you, Kelly. Is there a second? Matt, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries, and it is approved with those amendments. Informational I, table of organization, reference J. Any questions on that? Alicia?
I just was wondering if we don't typically put IT underneath operations. I just noticed you have a lot of direct reports, Enza, so I was trying to look at this and think if there's any way to offer you some relief. And in many organizations, IT falls under operations.
It used to, but we have to change this because it falls under curriculum and instruction. I have to update it. Yeah, I did hand it over to Carrie. And we love Steve so much, we all work with him. But I did hand it,
And
to Carrie.
nothing, no offense to you, Steve. I'm just
No,
being protective
it is.
of you, Dr. Macri.
Yeah, thanks. So it was a lot. So starting last year, because of everything with finance, I did. So we have to update this. But thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's just informational, so that no need to take action on it. Action item J, approval of minutes and motions from our October 8th regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Lori, is there a second? Second. Alicia, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries, they're approved. Action item K, approval of minutes and motions from our October 22nd regular meeting, reference L in our packets. Is there a motion to approve? Motion. Who was that? Oh, it says regular. Let me open it again. Oh, it is a special meeting. Thank you. Okay, was anyone absent from that one? Does anyone need to abstain? All right, so who made that motion?
Do you want to make the motion with the change?
It's the actual reference is okay, so I think it's fine.
Motion second.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. It was Alicia, no, Kelly, then Alicia? Whatever, doesn't matter. Okay. Stipend approvals, reference M in your packets. That's an action item. Any questions on that? Oh, there's a few in there. Any questions on those? If not, is there a motion to approve them?
Motion. Second.
Catherine, then Kelly. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. The stipends are approved. Informational Human Resources Personnel Activity, reference N. Any questions for Ms. Morrow on that? I did want to mention, I think we have a retired teacher on our sub list now, which is awesome.
We do.
Can't get any better than that. And then informational principal reports. Any questions on those? I always look to Alan before I move on. All right, then we have some policies on for first read, A through F, and then we're repealing G through S. So the first read, A through F, we'll just move those to second read unless there are questions. Anyone have questions on those right now? Okay, and then we need a motion to repeal those?
Yes.
Probably, right? So is our motion to repeal G through S?
No, it's double B.
Oh, sorry. Okay, through double B.
You are. No,
Kelly, is there a second? For repealing the policies? Is there a second? Thank you. Catherine, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. They are repealed. We have none on for second read. Board committee reports, policy report is included. Any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to Facilities and Technology Committee. None. Topics for future agendas and possible action to approve additional topics. Anything anyone wants to consider adding to the agenda? Okay, if not, we'll go around with any comments, updates, and announcements. Matt, would you like to start us off?
I'm all good.
Okay, Alan?
I'm just proud of the Veterans Day we have it in school, and I'm very impressed with the programs. It sounds like a very good.
It's a great day.
Thank you. Kelly, no. Lori? Catherine? Kelly? Alicia? Steve? All right. Then with that, I will declare this meeting adjourned at